speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags. American flags. American flags. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American.
Welcome to another riveting episode of the Patriots Prayer Podcast. I'm Eddie Smith, and today we have an exceptional guest joining us, Mike Mihalski. He's the co-founder of Sons of Liberty Gunworks, and in just a few short years, Mike and his team have revolutionized the firearms industry with their high-quality customizable rifles. Now, their dedication to excellence and innovation is truly inspiring, and we can't wait to dive into their journey and the impact that they're making on the industry and in their communities. But before we get started, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to my co-host, Maurice, also known as the Native Patriot. Now, Maurice, as always, brother, it's a pleasure to have you by my side as we bring the stories and the voices that matter most to our audience. And that's what we try to do each and every week. Now, I'm thrilled to share some exciting news. We are so proud to announce, finally, this has been my brainchild for forever, but we are proud to announce the launch of the Patriots Prayer Network, the first ever network of its kind. Our platform brings together conservative voices from every walk of life, creating a powerful community dedicated to truth, freedom, and American values, of course. We have an incredible lineup of shows. Now, the hosts who are making their waves in their respective fields are Alexandra Levine for Alexandra 360, Elena Barbara with the Base Mother, Seth Eisenberg with the Conservative Corner, Nate Kane with Raising Kane, and we also have Nicolette with Sweet and Savage, and Jay is going to be doing Keep It Thorough, Michaela Montgomery with Conservative Culture, Dale and Jim, of course, with Two Guys, One Coup, and of course, Maurice and myself with the Patriots Prayer Podcast. Guys, this has been years in the making. No one else is doing this. And we're bringing you the first ever podcast network, the Patriots Prayer Network. Now, our team will be streaming across multiple platforms, including X, Rumble, YouTube, Pill.net, iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, you name it. There are going to be many more. Wherever you get your podcasts at, we're there. Now, this is an unprecedented initiative, and it ensures that our conservative voices reach far and wide and unite patriots from coast to coast and beyond. Believe it or not, we do have listeners that are not even in this country. It's crazy. So we're committed to providing you with insightful, uplifting, and impactful content that speaks to the heart of what it means to be an American, what it means to be a conservative. And our mission is to preserve our culture, defend our freedoms, and promote the principles that make our nation great. So whether you're tuning in for the first time or you're a loyal listener or supporter, we thank you for joining us on this network. Together, we can make a difference. We can inspire change and keep the spirit of patriotism alive and well. So stay tuned for an enlightening conversation with Mike Mihalski of Sons of Liberty Gunworks. And let's dive into the high-quality customizable rifles and innovation that's driving this remarkable company forward. And once again, welcome to the Patriots Prayer Podcast on the Patriots Prayer Network. There it is, guys. Welcome in. Welcome in. So Maurice, of course, as always, and Mike, tell these guys a little bit about yourself and what you do, man.
My name is Mike Mihalski. I own Sons of Liberty Gunworks. We are a high-performance defensive rifle maker. Unapologetically, we make rifles for defense, for self-defense, and for defense of liberty. We started about 10 years ago, and we're probably the fastest-growing rifle company, at least in this space in the country. Mostly through word of mouth. We didn't really have a marketing budget to start. I think it says a lot that we were able to grow into an international brand through word of mouth.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. And I mean, small businesses all start off generally speaking, with word of mouth. And a lot of the times when a company ends up spending more money on advertisements than it does, innovating their actual products, then you kind of see that you have
Your
a
mic
problem with
again.
that. Is it bad?
You were just fading in and out a little bit.
I might have to buy a new microphone because I've been having some consistent issues with this thing. Can you hear me now?
Did you hit it? Did you hit it? You got to hit it. No. Remember back in the day when they had the old TVs? Before you're stop, dude.
It's
I
just,
bet you she is so pissed off. That's what she's famous for the rest of her life. Her grandkids are going to come up to her one day and tell her, Grandma.
Yeah. I've been trying to resist posting all those memes. Some people kind of won me over.
I didn't do it. I didn't participate, but it was funny as hell. I laughed. Yeah, dude, that's great. That's great. So, Mike, you guys are they say customizable rifles. Customizable in what way? In what way? What makes you different from the other guys? Why have you grown to the level you are? What's taking you there? What do you think that is?
Well, I mean, it's mostly performance. That's the first thing. I mean, it doesn't matter how good your company culture is. It doesn't matter what your customer support is. If the product sucks, then nobody's going to recommend it to their buddies. So, like the first thing we have going for us, obviously, is very high performance. Then we've evolved very quickly in looking at pushing the envelope on what these things can do, and getting ahead of the curve on where some of the firearms industry is heading. You have to remember, if you look at, I believe, if you were to look at the invention of gunpowder, if the timeline of firearms was a yardstick and the invention of gunpowder was like at inch 1, we're probably somewhere in inch 35 in terms of like if this thing, firearms are going to eventually run its course, at least in terms of warfare, things like that. I think we're pushing pretty far ahead to what the next evolution of guns is going to be. I think it's going to be very exciting. And then whatever ends up replacing with the next evolution of firearms it's going to be something I'm probably not qualified to make.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, we also have the best end user support in the industry. I mean, if you were to blow this gun up with the wrong ammunition, if you were to back over it with your truck, we replace it. If you were to abuse something, even to cover abuse, if you were to shoot something out, wear a barrel out at 30,000 rounds or something, we replace it for free. If you use a Sons Liberty rifle in a justified use of force scenario and it's taken for evidence, we will replace it while it's in evidence.
That's awesome.
There are no gun companies, at least not at our level, that make that kind of end user support commitment. So we're all in for our clientele.
Yeah. So, Maurice, from what I understand, that you get one of these guns for free. I'm teasing. Expect it in the mail. Maurice can be their Jared, but with guns.
Are you trapped behind enemy lines? Are you in California?
I'm in Washington State.
Oh, Jesus, yes. Even worse.
Yeah.
I think Washington State is actually worse.
Surprisingly, because the Article 1, Section 24 of the Washington State Constitution, it actually sounds like it is a stronger constitutional amendment than the Second Amendment. Because it reads the right of the individual citizen to keep it's the right of the individual citizen to keep and bear arms shall not be, or in defense of himself or the state shall not be impaired. Now you'd think that with no, it's impaired in Washington State.
But doesn't it also say inferred, meaning like it supersedes the Constitution and they can't take it away? The right to defend yourself is God-given.
Yeah, I would have to refresh up on it because that was just by memory that I haven't checked up on that in a long time. But I'm pretty sure it does go on a little bit. But our state constitution would imply that we have incredibly free liberty to exercise our Second Amendment rights, but we don't. all the communists in power right now, I mean, you know what I mean? They all want to take our rights away. It even has gotten so far as to ban insurance for it. So the USCCA, the United States Concealed Carry Association, I used to have that for me and my wife. It was like $40 or something for my wife and I. And basically, if you ever got involved in like a gun confrontation, then you'd have $1 million or so in lawyer fees or in court fees. If that were to ever be the case, but Washington State said that that was insuring criminal activity, and so they banned that kind of insurance in the entire state of Washington.
From what I can gather, and we have a lot of affiliates and industry partners up there. We do a lot of work with a lot of companies in Washington State. If I'm not mistaken, I think Washington State is actually now the most restrictive state for gun rights. I think it actually surpasses
more so than Maryland.
Maryland, Massachusetts, New York, California. Yeah, there are California compliant, like if you know AR-15s, which is it's kind of a joke what a California compliant AR-15 is. It's a magazine that you would insert into the lower receiver, and it can't come out. But if you open the gun and you push a button, the magazine falls out. I mean, it's a really stupid level of compliance for that. But like for Washington State, if you can't even buy a replacement part for the gun. So if your firing pin were to break one day, you cannot order a replacement part for that gun.
You can't print it in a 3D printer?
Well, I mean, I suppose what people do in their garage is their business. What I'm saying in terms of commerce, in terms of a citizen being able to simply buy a replacement part, non-serialized, we're talking about a spring, a bolt, something of that nature. I'm pretty sure that Washington State has gone farther than anyone so far.
That's nuts.
And
I do know that they banned 50 different kinds of rifles last year. So, I mean, yeah, it's you can't have more than 10 rounds in a magazine, and they banned 50 different kinds of assault rifles. So I don't even know all the rifles that they banned because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's completely unconstitutional, and it's our duty to it's our duty to go against it.
If I'm not mistaken, I mean replacement parts. I mean gunsmithing. And we're not. I mean, it's not even the importation of a new rifle. It's the fact that here's the goal. The goal is that the generation beyond us doesn't have access.
You beat me to it. I'm sorry. We're looking at the comments as you guys are talking, and these guys are going. No one likes Washington. Nobody likes Washington at all.
I mean, it's one of the most beautiful states. I mean, I go up there it is gorgeous. I mean, the scenery is amazing.
Take all the most gorgeous places and just screw them all up. Look at California. Hell, even New York was amazing at one point. Now it's a shithole. But, I mean.
It's unfortunate, yeah. So, yeah, so we look at states like Washington, California, New York, Massachusetts. Those states legislatively have fallen. Like the only hope that we have to make a difference there is through litigation, through Supreme Court rulings or circuit rulings. So that's the only hope we have to salvage that is through litigation. Because y'all's voting demographic is never coming back.
Didn't Donald Trump make a claim that if he gets elected, he's going to make all 50 states constitutional carry?
He has.
Didn't he say that while we were there, Maurice? I'm pretty sure he did.
Hope so, but I don't recall that exact line.
Are you talking about the NRA convention?
No, the People's Convention we were just at in Detroit.
Well, I heard him speak recently at the NRA convention, and I'm absolutely, again, an unapologetic Trump voter. He is by far the best and only real option. I'm not entirely sure he's a super big gun guy, but number one, he's better than the alternative. I'll tell you that. And I'm a super big fan of the not only the Supreme Court justices that he's nominated, but all of the other federal appointments. Those have been huge.
Over 300.
Yeah.
Over 300.
Those judges have been huge for the litigation efforts.
Yeah, this president, I'm afraid that if he handled a firearm, he would just end up cheddar bobbing himself. And In second thought, why doesn't someone just give this guy a gun? I mean,
I think Trump has become a little bit more open to policing gun rights. I guess it seems like he got a lot of backlash from that bump stock ban that he didn't necessarily promote, but I guess he let it
was that
happen.
his?
Yeah.
Was that his?
Yeah, that was it was after the Vegas
The October
Vegas
one
incident.
out here.
Yeah, and here's the deal. Look, I am a hardcore Second Amendment activist. I'm a purist. I spend, while I'm not running a gun company, I'm actually doing Second Amendment activism. What I will say on behalf of Trump is that I don't necessarily expect a New York real estate mogul to necessarily understand or care about, my AR-15. What I will say is that all of the other existential threats that we currently face, I don't fear Trump doing anything legislatively bad for guns, and I do believe that the court appointments and that kind of stuff is critical. Another 4 years of Biden would be in pretty bad shape.
Biden doesn't have 4 years of life left in him. He's getting ready to die in like 10 minutes. I mean, you can set your alarm clock to it. The guy can barely walk and put a sentence together. I honest to God think they drug him up before he comes on stage. I think that Jill's in the back with a syringe full of Adderall, ready to stick it in his ass right before he walks out on stage. There's no way he goes from sleeping at the summit to being able to debate Donald Trump on stage and be able to speak clearly. If he comes out that day on that debate stage and all of a sudden he's enunciating and he's sounding and his eyes are open and all, he's on something.
So I read correct me if I'm wrong, but I read the rules of the debate. The other candidate's mic is muted while the other candidate speaks. They have to sit down. Obviously, we all know that the questions and whatnot are going to be
they're rigged,
rehearsed and fed. What I'm curious about, and I think it's a reasonable question, is I wonder if because the other candidate's mic is muted, if they can't augment that sound. If they can't pull a Milli Vanilli on that damn thing.
Right.
They're asking him a pre-scripted loaded question.
Yeah, and there's somebody's behind him hitting the play button, and it's him talking.
If you think about it, live concerts are mostly like this. A lot of live performances are mostly, voiceover or that kind of thing. And the fact that the other candidate's mic is muted, you can't respond in real time. So if you ask a scripted question and you have a prepared scripted answer, then you could probably pull it off with this particular format.
Aren't there some things that are off limits too in the debates, things that can't be brought up?
I think I read that, but I don't remember what the specifics were, but I believe
they're really trying to rig it. They're really trying to rig it to where Trump is not allowed to defend himself for the onslaught of bullshit he's had to deal with from the Biden administration. We all know that he's rigged the DOJ, sent people over to Alvin Bragg's office where there previously was no case. Now all of a sudden there's a case after Biden administration got involved in it. And I think they're trying to set it up to where none of that can be talked about, brought to light, and discussed openly. Trump said he was, yes, that's the other thing too. I would love for Biden to submit to that drug test prior to this debate. Right before he walks on stage too.
I don't think he would, but I have seen theories floated around that Trump should show up an hour late so that way all the drugs wear off. Biden's just stuck out there.
That's really good, dude. Yeah, he's crashing right around the time he's just going down.
Yeah, I like that one.
I
gotta give it a shout out really quick to the guy who told me that, but I can't because I can't find the tweet. So crap. But yeah, it was just one of my followers who had said that today, and it made me laugh because I was like, that would actually work really well if he just showed up just a bit late, and then you could probably watch the drugs just wear off on Biden. So he'd go from like being, wide-eyed to all of a sudden just, slurring his words again and
just sleeping on the desk.
What tripped me out, the worst phrase that I remember him ever saying is that when he said, Jesus thought during the Revolutionary War that we didn't have enough some runways for planes or something. Airports. I was like, what the hell is this guy talking? He really said Jesus, Revolutionary War, and airports all in the same sentence.
I mean, didn't he recently think a prime minister has been dead for a few decades?
Yeah, and shit himself on stage next to Macron. Yeah.
he definitely assumed the position.
I read something terrifying, dude. So it's for voters from 18 to 29, Biden is leading by 23 points. From 18 to 29, Biden is leading by 23 points. Now, the reason why this is terrifying is because I think all of us have correctly assumed or correctly, assessed that legacy media is highly biased. It's bought and paid for. Legacy media is the mouthpiece of the state.
Yeah,
okay?
I would go further than that and saying that it's actually not the media. It's just the CIA in suits in front of cameras.
Yeah, I mean that's probably accurate, right? But 18 to 29-year-olds typically don't get their media from legacy media. They're not watching CNN. This says a lot about the indoctrination programs of of universities. The only way to explain how Biden is possibly winning by 23 points is the indoctrination programs of colleges and universities. Because it's certainly, I don't believe the media has that kind of effect on that demographic.
No, they don't. But here's my question for anyone that thinks that Biden even has a chance in hell at winning this. We know the numbers tell us 30% of the Democrats left their base. They lost 30% of their people over the last 3 years. They lost 27% of the black vote. That's just one demographic, and their whole base is 30% that they lost. He's only polling at 37%, which are the lowest numbers in history for any president ever. So how can you put all those things together and then tell me that he comes out on top in any poll whatsoever? How do you lose 30% of your base, 27% of the black vote, have the lowest poll numbers in history, and still have a conversation about this even being close? It doesn't make sense.
Unions are leaving in droves. You're talking about blue collar factory workers that still fly an American flag in front of their house. They might have voted Democrat historically, because their parents did the stuff. They're not about transitioning kids. They're not about open borders and cheaper labor. I would have to imagine that huge swaths of the base. Well, the party left them, right? They didn't leave the party. The party left them.
Well, party left everybody. I mean, the fact that they're able to drive this narrative of, they're advocating for communism. I know it's simplistic and everybody's like almost cliche at this point to call them all communists, but really they're employing those tactics and they're actually trying to implement this total control over our society. And they have multiple ways to do it, but the way that they bend the truth. Like I shared a screenshot of Harry Sisson this morning
because your mic's fading in and out again, dude. Did you hit it? Hey, while he's fixing his mic, I just want to give a little quick shameless plug to Michaela Montgomery, who is the host of Conserving the Culture on the Patriots Prayer Network. I just got off the phone with Michaela before we started the podcast, and she was invited onto Fox Business to be a part of the watch party on Fox for the debates. So the Patriot Prayer Network is going to have one of our hosts on Fox during the debates as part of their watch party team. Look out for that, guys. She's doing big things. Also, next week, we're going to have Bryson Gray on Wednesday, along with Osika Kaku, who helped author the First Step Act. So just look out for that, and I'll be sending stuff out with that and shortly after here. We're done here tonight. Your mic better now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, I was messing with the settings to see if it helped out. Did that do anything?
It sounds great now. Yeah, it sounds good now. You're good.
Perfect. I'll leave it there then.
You leave it right there. You're good, brother. So yeah, I mean, listen. Yeah, I do believe that we were saying it earlier. It does say inferred. I looked it up. So we're talking about a Second Amendment, the way that the founders wrote that law was that they cannot take away your ability to defend yourself regardless. Because the way that it's written, it says that your ability to defend yourself is God-given, not man-given.
No, the right to self-defense is a natural law. And you have to remember, a lot of the Constitution was, inspired by English common law. So this isn't like a new precedent. This wasn't necessarily a uniquely American thing. I mean, it is today. It is that it is in our Constitution, but the right to self-defense being a natural law, and where this was derived from, for at least as far as the inspiration for our Constitution, there's precedent going back to to English common law. So
how do you take that and say, okay, well, they're taking away the rights for felons to own guns? Because if one is true, you see
I personally, so part of my advocacy, I do help certain people restore their gun rights. I don't think that all felonies should be prohibitive for gun ownership forever. There are some crimes I think that you can.
What about red flag laws?
Well, red flag law is a horribly destructive thing. Red flag law is quite dangerous.
Yeah, and for the person,
I think if you steal a car in 1984, I think you can repay your debt to society, and I think your right to own a firearm should be restored. Now, if you've raped or murdered or done something to which you can never make that victim whole, or you could never repay that debt, well, then I do believe that your rights for firearm ownership and probably for voting and a lot of other things should probably be sacrificed for as long as you took the other person's, which is forever. So right. There are some times I think relief is appropriate for firearms ownership. Interestingly enough, the precedent that they're talking about granting non-citizens the right to.
They already did. They did it already.
They can be police officers, I believe, in California.
Yes, that's right.
Seattle too.
And they also are giving them houses, and they've created a program to where if they go through the program, they give them the 20% to put down on a home, and they don't have to make monthly payments on the home or anything. The only time they owe back the balance on that loan is if they sell the house.
I'm in a different city every week. I travel all over the country for work, and I talk to people, whether it's the Uber driver, the guy next to me at an airport, some guy next to me at a diner. I talk to as many people as possible, and while that may be anecdotal, I can tell you that people that have always kind of historically been Democrat, I'm talking from people from inner cities and that kind of thing, they resent the fact that some illegal immigrant just came over and their kid's shoes are nicer than this guy's shoes. One of them's an American citizen, one of them's not. One of them is getting a free place to live, one of them's not. Trust me, these things are not lost on this thing affects the lowest income, the lowest income people amongst our society.
This is why they lost 27% in counting of the black vote. Listen, when Candace Owens said, black folks, if you don't speak up real soon and make changes right now and start voting the right way right now, sooner or your vote, as far as the left pandering for your vote, that's gone because they're pulling in a new base, and that base is going to outnumber you, and then your voice isn't going to count for anything. This is why you see them showing up in Chicago at their city council meetings wearing MAGA gear in Chicago now. You got a big contingency of people that are just pissed off that their resources are going to illegal immigrants. They had to vacate housing projects, and then they moved illegals into those housing projects. How long do our people have to sit on Section H, get rent vouchers, have to be on lists and wait and for however long? These guys ran across the border, skipped to the front of the line, and threw Americans out of the way, and now they're getting more in the way of setting up lives for them than we give resources to our own people. Tyson Foods fired all their employees and vowed to only hire illegal immigrants.
That's insane.
Craziness.
That's it. That is insane. I mean, you see, Elon, called for a boycott of Tyson Foods. I'll tell you what. When it comes to boycotts and economic activism, me being in the gun industry and seeing Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, PayPal, Venmo, you name it, Shopify. There are so many businesses that have said we hate you to me and to my industry. There are so many people that have shut us out. Insurance agencies, credit card.
Oh yeah.
I
We did the same thing to Lindell.
Yeah, so I started my economic activism years ago. I have decided I'm very selective where I spend my money. I will not spend my money with a company or an entity that hates my guts. Exactly. I wish Target wouldn't have gone nuts. I wish Disney would not have gone nuts. My kids, I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. It's a bit inconvenient, but I promise you, ultimately, if more people did this, eventually, I think you do make an impact. There are enough people that have our worldview that if they had the discipline to be selective where they spend their money, they would make an impact, and I think help turn this culture war.
Yeah. Well,
this is actually why X is extremely important, and how it's making a difference. Like Eddie was going to say, with the Bud Light boycott, there was an actual mass movement, but it could be seen by other conservatives because it wasn't heavily censored. Right on old Twitter, on Twitter 1.0, if there was a movement to boycott Bud Light over what Dylan Mulvaney did, everybody who said something would have been banned, and there would have been no mass mobilization to boycott the company. Now I know that it's not as popular anymore, but there's actually room to be able to speak about it and get people inspired to stop spending their money with companies that actually hate your guts.
So, my question is Twitter less popular, X, whatever, is Twitter less popular than it was, or did Musk kick out all of the bots that simply were used to amplify another message? Because one of the reasons why he almost backed out of the deal was because whenever they started exploring it and doing more of their diligence, up to 40 to 50% of all active Twitter accounts might have been bots. And those bots were used to amplify insane messages that do not have an organic following. Okay, there is no organic in grassroots demand for women to compete in men's sports. There is nobody that is asking for that. I mean, maybe some far crazy fringe kooky, but I'm saying if you're talking like the 80th percentile of the country, no one's asking for men to box women. I'm sorry, it's not a real cause. That's completely manufactured. Same thing with the transitioning of kids.
If she'll sign a waiver,
9-month abortion.
If she'll sign a waiver for you guys, I'll box AOC. I'd say she has to sign a waiver, and I'll box AOC.
I don't know, man. She's got that commie rage, man. She might fuck you up, dude. But hey, but all joking aside, though, getting back to the Twitter thing, I agree with you 100%. This election is completely different than 2020 because of things like that. I don't think that it was necessarily an accident or a slip of the tongue when Mark Zuckerberg went on Rogan, the largest audience in the world, and plainly admitted that the Hunter laptop Biden story was suppressed at the request of the FBI.
They said because they couldn't verify it, but they couldn't verify the PP tapes either. They couldn't verify none of that shit about Trump that they ran, but they ran it anyway.
Sure, we all know what happened leading up in 2020. Do you think that it's a coincidence that even people like Zuckerberg are coming out and saying this stuff now? And then you no longer have the Twitter to amplify stupid messages and suppress good ideas. This is a very different. It's going to be much harder to steal this one, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. It's going to be much harder.
Yeah, because they're not suppressing the language. And right. This is why I tell people all the time. Elon did one of the most historical things ever and gave people their voice back. If you take a look at what was happening at Twitter with the CIA and all these NGOs and other government organizations, they were taking up to 50 plus meetings per week. Michelle Obama was the one who made the call to have Trump's account taken down off Twitter. It was a message that she sent that Dorsey listened to and took Trump's account away. Look, do you think they're not doing that at Google, at YouTube, at Facebook, at NBC, CBS, all the rest of them? That Twitter was just the tip of the iceberg. They got that shit going on everywhere.
I think with Elon releasing the Twitter files, I think Mark Zuckerberg had to come out and say that on a big platform like Joe Rogan's to kind of, I guess, release liability from him and kind of put it on the government, right? Because he was saying, oh, we were just trying to do the right thing and working with the government. And they came to us saying that this information wasn't credible. So we're not actually trying to manipulate you in any way, shape, or form. No, it's, you know, he was trying to remain neutral in that case, when in reality, they were doing as much as they can to help Biden win back then.
Sure.
But
in 2020, I completely agree. Zuckerberg, my theory is he also didn't have to say anything.
He broke election laws too. He donated too much money.
Like $400 million. And you know, they, again, you know, one of the things that we see, and this is something that I've been wanting to talk about, you know, with anybody that will listen to my crazy ass talk, you know, of all the time that we spend, or I used to spend arguing with other people online, trying to prove a point or trying to convince them to, you know, of my point, I could have taken 1/10 of that effort and just found somebody who is already kind of like-minded and made sure that they actually went to vote. You see, the reason why Google is able to actually affect voter numbers, same thing with Facebook, is they can target people who otherwise would have stayed home and feed them enough stuff until they get up to go vote. That's how they're doing it. You curate information, you let unenthusiastic voters that you don't want stay unenthusiastic, and then you target voters that could probably vote your way if you simply motivated them to get off the couch.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not Google, but I have a back seat. You know, I can take two people to the damn poll with me, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find two like-minded friends that otherwise would have said, hey, you know, I don't know if my vote counts. I'm like, I'll tell you what, let's get some you know, chicken wings after, and let's just go stand in line with me for a couple minutes.
Right.
If everybody did that, it's over. We're not the minority. No, I'm saying by minority, I'm talking not about race or I'm saying that like our worldview of normalcy and truth and decency, and this is the majority of America. It really is. Problem is we have a bit of voter apathy we have to overcome. Our side, our people don't organize well. We're too independent.
No,
we don't.
We got too much going on. We got families. We got work. We have lives. We don't have time to go out there and walk around with picket signs and stand at the DMV and get people to sign things. And all this other stuff that the left has tons of time to do for some reason. But here's a staggering statistic for you. Less than half of gun owners vote. I didn't know that the other day. That's sick. Yeah,
that is correct. That is 100% true.
That just blows my mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I cut you off there, Maurice.
I was going to say that a lot of the things.
Your mic again. I'm sorry,
Hello.
dude.
No, it's all right. I just got to get really close to it, I guess.
You got to do like back in the old day radio show shit. You got to hold it right there, like you're announcing Mike Tyson. Right there.
My big black mic right here has to be really close to my face.
There you go. Hey,
all
hold up.
All right. What I've been promoting on X is trying to explain to people that yes, your life is busy. You have kids, you have a wife, but if you want to help ensure the future, then you have to participate in our voting system. And our voting system right now is what we were born with. And there's so many people who say that, oh, our vote doesn't matter. That argument has been getting really old to me, because I mean, what else are you advocating for? If you want to change the future, then this is the very least that you can do. If you're not going to go build a company that enacts change, then at least vote. And if you have the capability, then like you were saying, what you should do is you should make sure that your wife is voting.
Your mic again.
You should make sure that I don't understand what's going on with this thing. Maybe it's my internet.
It's just there you go.
Okay, maybe it's my internet. Maybe it's the microphone just screwing up. But
No, you get lower and
killing
then
me.
louder. It's low. It gets lower and then louder. So it's the mic.
Okay.
I can
Well,
tell.
Hmm.
But while you're taking a look at it, listen, he's right. And we had someone on not long ago, a libertarian, who swore that, you know, he seemed pretty intelligent when it came to government, monetary policy, all of the things that libertarians usually are very educated about, but then said when it came to the federal election that he's going to abstain from making a vote. And I told him essentially this: no vote is a vote for Biden, period. And Maurice and I are both on that same thing. If you don't vote, you are voting.
Yeah,
right?
I've had this conversation with people who correctly point out that most politicians on both sides are corrupt. I have this conversation with people who can point out the hypocrisy and the flaws of both political parties. And I agree that this is not, I promise, I am the last guy to sit here and defend government and politics as a whole. What I will say, and without a doubt, not even hesitating, there is a set of ideas that are quite a bit worse than the others. If you're talking about one side is normalizing the sexualization of children. There's laws being passed to normalize pedophilia. There are, again,
the president his daughter said he took showers with her.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, even I don't know if that's correct or not. I don't know. What I do know is 16.
That's in her own handwriting.
Yeah, look, I'm not doubting it. I'm saying 16 million people have come across the border that we don't know who the hell they are. And if even 0.5% of them have bad intent, I'll tell you right now, there's really not a whole lot we can do about that. At least no police force is going to handle that. I mean, if something like that happened, there would be the armed citizenry that would have to deal with it. Anyways, there are, look, I agree. I think politics are corrupt, although there is a clean end of the turd, and it's not Joe Biden. And I will happily vote against those ideas and people that support those ideas.
Me as well. I agree. I mean, trying to get, so in Washington State, right? We don't have in-person voting. We have universal mail-in ballots here. Like, you can't physically go to a location and vote there. You can go to a location and drop your mail-in. 2011.
2011.
Yeah, it's been that way for 13 years. We've been universal mail-in ballots. So when I saw what happened in 2020, without getting into the all the shenanigans that I believe happened, it seemed like, from what I saw in Washington State, that they were kind of running tests or, kind of seeing how it would play out, because Republicans haven't won anything for over a decade here, and it kind of lines up pretty well with the universal mail-in ballots. I mean, it sure seems like there's been an extreme push since then. I mean, you can kind of tie it up with social media being, around or exploding during that time as well. But our state has gone completely far left, and it almost seems like there's no hope to come back from it. I mean, to this day, I still get ballots from people I get 2 extra ballots each year at my house. One is from the lady that used to live here 5 years ago, and one is for her husband who died back in like 2006. So
I was going to ask you, right? So, and I think we talked about this before. The reason why, hypothetically, YouTube, the reason why the mail-in ballots are such a bad idea is because the name and the signature for the ballot are on the outer envelope. They're not on the ballot itself. So let's
they get separated.
And they get separated. So there's no way in a recount, the recount will always tally up, but you're never going to be able to tell whether or not it's that person's actual vote, because the signature is not on the ballot. It's on the envelope that gets tossed when the ballot gets verified. So there's no way to prove voter fraud ever, because a recount will always tie out to whatever they previously said. And this is the problem with universal mail-in ballots, along with the fact that, like he said, they don't clean voter rolls. They only cleaned 4 people off the voter rolls in Clark County, where I'm at, in the last 8 years. 4 people. No one's moved. It's damn near Las Vegas. We have people that move every week. This is one of the most transient towns in the entire country. They know what they're doing. They're not ignorant. They're very smart people. And
I do want to say that I don't want to discourage my fellow Washingtonians to vote, because I think that this. Yeah. Well,
not this audience.
I think that this election is going to change the tune of what we see in the future. I think we're going to have record voting numbers, but the thing is that you have to register to vote. If you're not registered to vote, do it now. What's that link I've been sharing? Vote for. I don't know. I don't have a thing, but it's voteforamerica.org. The number 4. Vote number 4 America.org. And that's a really easy link to share with people who aren't registered to vote, whether it's your wife, your mom, your uncle, your aunt, your friends. This is one of the most important things. I spent a bunch of time down in or over in Detroit talking to Scott Pressler, and why he does what he does, and registering his voters and everything. And I see that there's a lot of good in what he's doing, and so I've kind of changed my focus, and what I can do to help is registering my fellow Washingtonians who aren't registered, or at least encouraging them to actually fill out the ballot and send it in. Because like I said, that's the least that we can do. It's the absolute least.
Can you look to see what was the margin in Pennsylvania? What was the margin of victory in Pennsylvania?
I can tell you about votes that came down to like a single vote. We almost literally lost when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. Obama was around. It was one vote that kept people's ability to pray in public places allowed, and I forget where it was. It was a specific venue or whatever, but one vote kept it from happening.
The reason why I bring up Pennsylvania is because that's one of the examples I use. The margin of victory there was quite narrow. Okay, and we look at the numbers. There were 515,000 people that had a hunting license that did not register to vote. We can track that they had a hunting license. They registered to hunt in the state. They did not register to vote. 515,000. Out of those 515,000, I'd have to imagine the lion's share of them are gun owners. And if you're out in the woods hunting, I'd have to guess the lion's share of those people probably have a worldview that is not, in line with the,
liberals.
well, a very kooky far left ideology. 515,000 people. The margin of victory. Ohio, 630,000 licensed hunters and gun owners did not register to vote. What was the margin of victory in Ohio? Now, these states decide the election, okay? And it could come down to, like you said, a couple of votes. I'm telling you, if I'm not mistaken, it's less than 5% of those people, if they would have made it to the polls, this country would be in a very different place right now. Maybe your eggs would not be they cost what they do. Maybe buying a home would not be as difficult as it is right now.
I am so thankful. I bought my house in 2019, right before interest rates skyrocketed. So it was like the last chance I would ever have to buy a home, basically. And so we got a 3% interest rate, and we're sitting pretty right now. Just because you look around, especially in Washington State, like the house that I have, it's over doubled in value somehow. Like, I don't see it that I would have never bought it at the price it's worth right now, but for what I got it for back in 2019, really good. Eddie, we should go to our sponsor. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it's been 50 minutes.
50 whole minutes. Good.
Yeah.
So here you go, guys. We'll be right back.
Born in the coastal plains of South Texas, Smoking Gun Coffee is founded by combat veterans that know exactly what a cup of coffee needs to taste like. Run by father and son, each coffee bean is perfected, roasted at 500 degrees, and cooled with a Gulf Coast breeze. Smoking Gun Coffee hand makes and bags each ounce of coffee for maximum customer satisfaction. With every purchase, 10% goes back to organizations that help veterans and local communities. That's Texas made, one bag at a time. To find out more, go to www.smokingguncoffee.com.
So guys, listen, if you go to smokingguncoffee.com, you'll notice something there. There is a Patriots Prayer Coffee Club. You no longer have to buy your coffee one bag at a time. Go join the club. You'll save money buying the coffee. You get a discount because you're just going to be buying it. They're going to send it to you each month. You help the show out. You help out some veterans and veterans causes at the same time. So go check them out. Go to smokingguncoffee.com. You'll see it there. The link is there for the coffee club, for the Patriots Prayer Coffee Club. Guys, go check it out. Yeah, so I wanted to switch up here for a second because I have a clip I wanted to play. And so there were a couple of days back, Matt Gaetz everybody jumped on him, right? Everybody jumped on him. You called all the women who protest against abortions ugly and fat and blah, 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 right? And then they asked him the question, like, what do you say to those people who got offended by what you say? And he said, be offended. And I thought it was excellent. I thought it was a perfect comeback for what he said. And then, but you got to understand, folks, this is who he's talking about when he's making these comments. You have to look, watch this.
My choice, 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 my choice.
That's not normal.
I'd rather have a 10-year prison sentence than deal with whatever demon she has going on inside of her, man. Listen.
In the eyes, man. You can see it. Eyes are the window to the soul, and hers is corrupted.
She's got some demon issues going on, and I'm being literal, man. There's no way a sane person acts like that. But he's not wrong, because these are the people that we see pushing these issues. Look, we've dealt with it in the Native American community. It's always a bunch of white liberals wanting the Indians to change their name, wanting the Braves to change their name, going after the Redskins, and on and on and on. And all these high schools that are they're forcing the sports teams to be having their names changed. It's never the people with whom are actually affected by whatever law or change that's coming. It's always somebody adjacent to that just wants to go along to get along and be a part of the crowd and be cool too. Virtue signaling. How do you see this, Mike?
I mean, I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg was, even in her own biography, did not think that Roe stood on very strong constitutional precedent. And
She sure did.
Returning the choice to the states makes the most legal sense. Now, here's the truth, and this may anger a lot of the people listening. I know a lot of my friends don't like it when I say this, but if you were to put abortion on the ballot up to some term, up to some point, I don't know if it's 12 weeks or whatever, some arbitrary term, okay, I believe that it would pass in all 50 states, because I think that the majority of Americans are uncomfortably accepting that abortion exists. Now, that I'm not pro-abortion, okay, this is not an endorsement for it. What I am saying is I don't believe that anybody is trying to take abortion rights completely away from anybody. They've returned it to the states, and most states have some type of law allowing for something. Now, like I said, if you were to put abortion on the ballot in all 50 states up to like some term, like whatever, pick a number, I believe it would pass. I think that if you were to put abortion on the ballot up until the 9th month, I believe it would probably fail in all 50 states. And
it passed in Montana.
Up to the 9th month?
Yes, up to the 9th month. In Montana, 52% of their legislature voted for the baby to be actually come through the birth canal and never revived.
Wait, this was a ballot that individual people, or did the lawmakers?
No, these are
Individual people.
lawmakers. This
Lawmakers,
is a
right?
legislature of
But I'm saying
Montana.
they didn't put this on a ballot for individuals to vote.
No, this was their legislature.
I would have to imagine there's going to be some massive consequences at the next election if that is that to me sounds remarkably hard to believe. 52% up in
52%
Montana.
in Montana. That's why it was so hard for me to believe, because I picture Montana as being Montana, country town, good old boys, what you would expect. But then you take a look at the body of people that make up their legislature, and you're like, how in the hell did these people get in charge of that place? It's really wild.
I would have to imagine that I refuse to believe the people, the citizens of the residents of Montana ask for that. I'd have to believe the very few, very well-funded people that probably pay for those lawmakers. I'd have to imagine that's where the influence is coming from, and I'd be really interested to see what the results are in the next election. When was this? This blows my mind.
This was in the election that just passed, right after the 2020 deal.
I would like to believe that most people are unaware of what they're passing, because the way that they word these bills, or the way that they put the descriptions down, they say, ultimate health care for women, but in the fine print it'll say up to birth of the child, and if the mother has basically any reason physically or mentally to abort, then they have the right to abort at any time. So most of the time people don't realize that this means up to 9 months, or up to when the baby's actually coming out. And if at the last second the mom decides, I don't want the child, which I will grant them probably rarely happens. I would be hard pressed to think that that's a common occurrence. But the problem is that we're legalizing it. Like, why in the world would we even legalize something like that? I talk about this quite often, but there's a lot of people that will say that, well, in case of the life of the mother, for medical reasons, then it should be legal. Like, she shouldn't have to go through this hardship. But there's no reason at all that at that point in time, 7, 8, 9 months, the last trimester, there is zero reason to not save, or at least attempt to save the baby. Like, abortion is the intentional killing of the baby to end the pregnancy. It is, they try to conflate, like, if there was a medical emergency and they performed a C-section to get the baby out because the mom had HELP syndrome, right? And if the baby dies during that process while they were doing everything in their power to save it, they want to classify something like that as abortion, when in reality, abortion should just be the intentional killing of the child to end the pregnancy, and for no other reason. And it really, this topic in particular really bugs me, but I would like to believe that most people are completely unaware of what these laws actually mean with the way that they word them. And it almost feels like trickery to me, but you see a clip like that.
To get back to the core of, I guess, the argument, regardless of the position on that stuff, the Supreme Court was right to return that to the states and
Yes.
and make that a state issue. And that's really what it is. They twisted that into some type of abortion ban. I'll tell you right now, that to my knowledge, it is not more difficult for a woman to get an abortion than it was 5 years ago.
No.
Hell, it sounds like if you go to Montana, it's easier. So,
Yeah, it's actually, just so you know, it was proposal CI 128. I just looked it up so people can look it up. And it was hidden in the bill. That wasn't all it was about. Like you said, when they put it out there, with a different title, for a different reason. But when you read the bill, it's exactly what it allowed for.
They pulled something like that in San Antonio recently, and they were going to try to decriminalize theft up to $1,000, and they had hidden it in some in a right to choice ballot initiative, as if the city of San Antonio has a say in the matter.
Yep.
No, they would have had no effect on abortion rights whatsoever. It would have been some kind of symbolic victory. But the theft, to not prosecute theft up to $1,000, that would have been very real. Luckily, that got
that
shot
did L.A.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it's well. I have to again. I'm an optimist. I believe that this election, if there is going to be, like you said, record turnout. I think there is going to be a rejection of some of these ideas that are so far crazy that appeal to no one. To no one. Okay, I have to believe. I have to believe it's going to be so overwhelming that it's going to be virtually impossible to steal. I don't think that you're going to be able to.
What they call too big to rig.
Too big to rig, yeah. I believe that to be true. I'm optimistic. I'll tell you this: if it does not go that way, if for some reason Biden or whoever they plug in, because I don't think Biden's running, to be honest, 100% honest. I don't think Biden is going to be the nominee.
I think they'll trade him out at the end for. Kamala said she wanted to be governor of California.
Yeah, and Kamala is not going anywhere near the election. She's even less electable than Biden.
I think it'll be Gavin Newsom. That'll be.
The thing. I don't think Gavin. I personally do not think that Gavin Newsom is electable outside of a select state. It's like AOC. People point to AOC all the time, and as the example of how insane the party has gotten. Let's be honest, AOC would not be electable in many districts.
No.
I mean, I don't think that her appeal is that. You just seem to disagree, Morris. Do you believe that AOC is more popular than I think?
She's popular in the TikTok world, and the clap back like that's what she's popular in. And on Twitter and on TikTok, it seems like she's really popular, and she gets all the likes and the clicks and the shares for that reason. But as far as the people in her district goes, I mean, like Nancy Pelosi said, a glass of water could have won as long as they put it as a Democrat, right? So she was actually found to play the role of a Democrat, and I think that she's doing it really well. So it sure doesn't seem like she would be someone. Yeah, to your greater point, as far as she's not as popular as she seems. And Twitter really played a role in that, and so does TikTok. Who knows how many bots are on TikTok? But
what scares the hell out of me is I don't know, like going back to the original thing that Eddie had brought up. I don't necessarily think that Gavin Newsom is nationally electable. And he's kind of a despicable guy. Not even by my standards. I'm saying like by my California Democrat friends standards. Now I'll tell you who scares the living hell out of me in terms of electability would be Michelle Obama. I think Michelle Obama has a lot.
She would
higher
never run.
You don't think so? Why?
No,
I'm curious.
Because everybody would find out as a dude, and. It wouldn't work.
My wife is a billion
Big Mike
convinced. My wife is 1,000,000,000% convinced there is no reasoning. And look, she's starting to kind of make me even doubt that.
Hey, listen, I'll give you all the reasons we all say. There's no picture of her ever being pregnant. If you take a look at the Obama's friends that were with them in the White House and went on every vacation with them, and you take a look at both Sasha and Malia, and you look at those friends. They're the twins. They're spitting image of the Obama's friends. There's no like, how like doing Maury, that baby looks just like me, Maury, look. No, this is no guess. This is literally that kid. Those kids look exactly like their two friends. And beyond that, I mean, if you saw, Larry Sinclair's interview with Tucker Carlson, do you have any doubt at all what Larry Sinclair said was true? I mean, he passed 2 lie detector tests. Donald, what was the other Obama's boyfriend named? The one that died while he was running and going. So they're just, and Michelle Obama even wrote a book about being transgender. I mean, icing on the cake right there. She
I'll-
literally wrote a book.
I would agree. I don't think that Michelle Obama is going to run, but I think the
I'm
reason
happy
that
to hear
Gavin
y'all say
Newsom,
But
I think
don't
that the
know
way
if
that
she's
they
I
could,
don't know if she's a dude, but I damn sure can't prove she's a woman either. That's what it comes down to.
that's fair. I think that the way that they would get Gavin Newsom to win would be to throw him in there last minute.
That's
So
what
if
they're
he
gonna do.
started, yeah. So if he started running his campaign a year ago, like everybody else did, there would have been so much dirt that would come out on him, and they would be able to paint him in a bad way. But if
This
let's
is why
say,
the DeSantis debates happened. This is exactly why the
Yeah.
DeSantis debate happened. They were building him up. And listen, I think in the last minute, you're going to see Kamala run for governor of California, and you're going to see DeSantis run for president. That's what I think.
Look,
I mean, Gavin,
Yeah, Gavin. Yeah.
What I absolutely agree with both of you on is that if you make the switch late enough in the campaign, all of Trump's political firepower and the war chest and everything's going to have been burned up fighting Biden, and then you switch at the last minute, and your entire strategy is gone. I'd have to imagine. I hope Trump's team is smart. If the three of us can see that, I'd imagine that the guys on Trump's team can. But there's just no way in hell that they're going to let Biden anywhere near the 24 election. There's just not.
They're trying to
and
quietly.
we could probably.
They're already saying it on CNN. They're going to try to quietly get rid of him on Democrat networks. They're saying it already.
No, I've heard this. I've heard that. Yeah, I've seen it with my own eyes.
They're
Yeah,
prepping.
The narrative is already kind of they're planting the seeds.
Now I'm gonna go to one more break, and we'll come back after that. Be right back, guys, in just a second.
All right, so next up we have Julius here, and he's from his company Eco Inventions.
That's correct.
And he has the Eco Washer. Now, I see it says never buy laundry detergent again.
Right.
I think the laundry detergent people are going to be after this.
Yeah, they're probably not going to like you. What can my Eco Washer Special Edition model do? Everything. We eliminate all the toxic poisons in your home. No more detergent, no more fabric softeners, no more hot water. Sound too good to be true? It's not. Where did this technology come from? This technology literally came from the hospital industry. There's a super expensive commercial Oculus ozone laundry system used in hospitals worldwide. How did we create the Eco Washer SE? We simply miniaturized it using the advent of micro technology. These are like a solid state computer. No filters, no fillers, no ingredients, nothing. It runs the water through and transforms the water into an unlimited supply of nature's pure detergent and nature's pure cleaning supplies that will mop your floors, wash your carpet, take pesticide off of your fruits, veggies, fish, meats, and it'll make everything last much longer when you put it in the refrigerator. Hey, stop supporting these corporate chemical villains and step up and get your Eco Washer SE today. The new Eco Washer SE is a chemical-free laundry and cleaning solution. Imagine no more detergent, no more chemicals, saves you money, pays for itself, gives you a healthier life, and simplifies doing laundry. And now we're going to include 2 free Thunder Pure Safe Air Minis that purifies your home and sanitizes your surfaces like a thunderstorm in nature, eliminates all odors. Plus, you're receiving $100 off by using code PODCAST on the new Eco Washer SC. Let me remind you, 2 free Thunder Pure Safe Air Minis plus $100 off during this podcast. Podcast is your coupon code at.
So, guys, listen, that thing is amazing. It does exactly what it says it does. Mike, this thing is so cool. You put it between your washer and in the water line. You don't have to buy detergent anymore.
Oh wow!
It literally restores your clothes, so it brings back the colors more vibrant. You don't have to use any chemicals at all, and you don't even have to use hot water. And it's the same technology you use, like you said, at hospitals and cleaners. all of that, and it's just this little box that you put between. You can throw away your Windex, your bleach, all that. You don't need any of it. It's
Well,
cool
after this podcast, I'm gonna go order some coffee and that device, dude. Those are two good companies I definitely feel like supporting.
Well, and this is actually one of the reasons why we brought them on, and because we actually had them on the podcast and everything to kind of explain their views. Because if you look at companies like Procter and Gamble, right? They own most detergents and things like that. So every time that you go to wash your clothes, you're literally supporting a company that puts out one of the most woke commercials you could ever imagine. Just look up woke commercials from Procter and Gamble. And I mean, they're horrifying. It's not reality. It's painting this weird picture of this dystopian image that they have in how they portray men are evil and that being gay is like the best thing in the world. I mean, it is really crazy what kind of propaganda pieces that they put out. So a company like EcoWasher, yes, we brought him on, and the guy was based. I mean, he was outspoken with all of his views, and he's like, oh man, yeah. And not only that, he's a legal immigrant to this country, and he hates all the illegals swarming in. I mean, he is one hell of an American, and somebody that I'm really proud to be a sponsor or be sponsored by. And I mean,
sponsee.
yeah. I mean, I want to have companies that support the same values as me, right? I want to promote those companies.
You know what we don't have though, Maurice? And I never thought about this, but we don't got a rifle company sponsoring us. Isn't that crazy? We need a rifle company.
You know, I do have a spot right back here to display.
I was going to point right here.
Yeah, I know a guy. I know a guy.
You know a guy? You know a guy? So,
guys,
Mike, you also, when we spoke, you follow the issues. We had a nice long talk when we talked on the phone the last couple of days back, and you were expressed interest in doing a podcast.
Yeah, I am interested. I mean, we have so Sons Liberty has a podcast. We're just really horrible about doing it regularly. I mean, I think we've done 10 over the last 10 months or something. I mean, it's been really, really sporadic. I mean, I'm on the road all the time, and and my partner, he's kind of doing his thing, and of all the stuff I have to do day in and day out, it's been the thing that has suffered the most. Although I will say, I do see some real value. If there's 10,000 of us, and we each have 1,000 followers, that's a lot of people. We're not saying the same thing, but we're talking. We have the same minds or the same worldview. Our voice absolutely can compete with the big mainstream media, the New York Times, and everything else.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. The impressions based off of each of the channels that we are shooting this out to would equal more than what anyone would get advertising with NBC, ABC, CBS, or any one of the mainstream networks. Incredible. We absolutely compete across the board. That is a fact. And I would say we probably outpace them by quite a bit.
That's amazing. No, I'd love to hear it.
And your demographic is going to be your demographic.
Eddie's in cell mode right now. He's like, hey,
it's true. Hey, tell me which one of you guys in the chat right now don't like guns. If you don't like guns, put a 2 up. We'll boot your ass. I guarantee you.
And to be perfectly honest with you, there's just not a lot of advertising avenues that we have as a gun company. So stuff like this, being able, this is something that's right up our alley.
How about that?
Well, I got if you don't want to do a weekly, every same time, consistent podcast, I have another idea for you. We'll discuss after, but it's something that we could do. Maybe we can give you a segment where you could do it and we'll play it.
Hit that like button, guys. Actually, I know that you're on X, so I guess that doesn't count as much, but yeah, if you're watching on Rumble, I hate saying this, but smash the like button.
Yeah, smash the like. How has Rumble been? Is Rumble a good free speech platform? I haven't
Yes,
played with it.
a free speech absolutist place. I
Good.
tested it one time and went on there and had a complete Tourette's breakdown just to see if anything would happen. Nothing. I
Wait,
used it every no.
Do you still have that video up? Can I see it?
It is.
I want.
It is.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I used all the words you're not supposed to ever say in polite society, and nothing happened.
Yeah. If you are watching on YouTube, I recommend that you swap over to Rumble and stop supporting YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
YouTube. I don't care that if I don't care if there's 10 billion people on YouTube. If they're gonna suppress your message down to 100 people or something like that, then it doesn't
Section
matter.
230 sucks, guys.
Yeah.
It's Section 230, and what it was written back when the internet had message boards, and the owner of the message board didn't want to get sued for what someone else wrote on their message board. So they made a law that would allow them to moderate their own message boards without shutting down someone's First Amendment rights. However, that's not what they're doing now. They're the purveyors of what's true, what's not, what's misinformation, what's malinformation, and they use it to target one side. What did that say? I heard my name.
You said
You heard
apply
it.
more peer pressure.
Yeah, I had my glasses off. I couldn't hear you. What was it?
He's talking about you getting him to sponsor. He said it's not enough pressure, Eddie. Push
Not enough
harder.
pressure. Man.
Hey, we like guns. I can shoot a bunch of videos with guns. Just saying. Actually, I need to do that more often. I got a bunch of woods around here, and YouTube doesn't like if you're not shooting at like a gun range. YouTube will take your video down. They'll demonetize it. It's not even worth posting. But I don't really see the problem with posting the videos on X, and eventually, at some point, we could start posting some content on Rumble as well for like outside of the podcast and outside of this stuff, especially doing gun stuff.
I definitely would like to support you guys, and I'm grateful for everybody who is speaking up and pushing back. From 2016, 2020, one of the craziest things that I saw were people had to whisper their support for Trump. Oh, I'm voting for Trump, because they were shouted down and they were shamed for being conservative, for having concern. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Again, I think that we're coming from is where the majority of the country is. I believe that the majority of the country are, reasonable, sensible people. I believe that. So if the fact that, you guys are speaking up and giving other people the confidence to speak up, that's my goal too, is to help inspire the confidence to speak up and not be shamed into silence.
This is one of the reasons why I'm so glad that there are still people out there who wear masks. So I know who you are.
True.
I was on the airplane. I was in mid-flight when they announced
the airplane?
over. Yeah, well, I was in mid-flight whenever they announced that the masks were over, and there was a cheer across the cabin, the flight crew, everybody, and you turn around. And then there were still, you could see, there were still a few people who did not take. It was weird. Remember that movie with Roddy Piper where he put the glasses on? They Live?
It's one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah. Well, this was that moment. I mean, it was like putting the glasses on, and you got a really weird insight into people's psyche, because the whole plane is celebrating, the flight crew, everybody's celebrating. There were a couple of people scattered in and out that were not, and they never took the mask off, and you got to see really quick whose brains were truly broken.
Right. And that's it. You remember Rodney Carrington, the comedian?
Yeah.
He used to say, "You got whatever you are should just be on your t-shirt. That way I know before I talk to you, hey, we're the same or we're not the same. It should just be on your t-shirt." I agree. I think that it would work perfectly that way. Now, we got ideas popping up in the text messages where it says, Snarls says that you guys should do episodes shooting different guns.
Yeah,
I think that's an amazing idea. I think that is an absolutely amazing idea.
Well, we definitely want to support. I definitely want to do more of this.
You know what? We're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. So before we get out of here, last thing that I want to talk about is Trump's VP pick. Who is it going to be?
That is a good question. I can tell you who I like. I don't, but I'll be honest. I cannot make an educated guess on this because he has, in my mind, made no clear indication. I know who I'd like to see, but I can't tell you who I think it's going to be.
Who you'd like to see?
I honestly would love to see it be Tucker. I think
that would
Tucker
be awesome.
The guy really is one of the most knowledgeable people on current affairs, politics. He's a very studied guy. He's sharp. You're not going to beat that guy in a debate or you're not going to beat that guy in a conversation about policy. And he's huge. I think Tucker would be an amazing pick. Unfortunately, I hope that Tucker's just raking in the money right now after CNN. Or not CNN, might as well be the same. After Fox, kind of cut him loose, and he's out there on his own.
He got fired up. He got fired up. Yeah.
No, he's crushing it. But I think I'll tell you who sharp as a razor blade is Vivek. There's some things that I still want to learn a little bit about him, but he's a razor blade. Tulsi Gabbard is a very personal.
That's the one that I don't know. I'm so unsure. Is she real? Is she fake? She used to be anti-gun, pro-abortion, all of that. And now she's on the other side of the aisle.
I'll tell you, Tulsi Gabbard's actually a very good personal friend of mine, like in real life. This is someone I talk to.
I want to talk to her.
Yeah, I will. I can certainly make the introduction. Tulsi's a very good personal friend. I will tell you that 2020 woke a lot of people up forever. Like 2020 did crack the veil for a lot of things. There are you ever watch Brett Weinstein?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that guy is talking about the importance of the 2A because he sees what actual tyranny looks like whenever you see the suppression of the 1A. What that other author? There are Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson, is another one. There are a lot of people that have been awoken, and dude, my wife, who I have children with, was a pretty far left-leaning person until COVID, and now she's to the right of Alex Jones. Okay, and this is not my doing. I did nothing to convince her. All she did was once you spot one little lie from the press or from the
tapestry just comes apart.
It just unwinds, and then you realize it's all bullshit. And so, anyways, Tulsi's a really good person. I'd happily make the intro, and I think you'd be pleasantly surprised.
I was looking for her. I was looking for her at the People's Convention because I like her as a person. She's got one of those voices that could just talk you right to sleep. She's just got a voice. But the thing is, when you see who she was in the party she aligned herself with for so long, what people on the right are afraid of, you got half the people in the chat, they're like, no, Tulsi, and the other ones like her, even right now. But the thing is, because people are not sure. We just went through this with Mike Pence. We thought he was a cool guy.
Let me give you here's a test that I do, and I'm not trying to convince anybody to like Tulsi. She's a friend of mine. She doesn't have to be a friend of anybody else. That's not I don't care. That doesn't affect my relationship. They accused her of being a Russian asset. Hillary Clinton accused her of being a Russian spy. Do you remember this?
That's when you know you're probably good.
Well, so to me, when people ask me, my libertarian friends ask me how I can vote for Trump, I'm saying if every major corporation, the mainstream media, and pretty much the entire government hate you, I have to really start to wonder why. If Mitt Romney hates you and Nancy Pelosi hates you and Pfizer hates you, I want to know more about you. I remember what Google did to Tulsi after that presidential debate where she just completely annihilated Kamala.
I love that one.
One of the most memorable moments of presidential debate history. Google completely shut all of her websites off where you couldn't access it, And Hillary Clinton called her a Russian spy. When you start getting accused of a Russian spy, it's because you're a bit too centrist and you've caught a lot of people's attention, and they have to assassinate your character as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. When I look at stuff like that, man, like Hillary Clinton did more to make me like certain people than probably did
exactly. I think the Biden administration in these last 3 years have made more Republicans than Trump ever could.
Yeah. It's like Obama's a hell of a gun salesman. Same effect. Obama's a hell of a gun salesman.
Exactly.
Well, you got to think.
I could completely see this.
Tulsi has leaned right a lot sooner than Donald Trump did. Donald Trump was a Democrat for most of his life. He's like And Tulsi was able to wake up sooner because she got into politics sooner and started speaking against the machine. Now, of course, all of her views I don't align with, but when people think of Trump, they think of this MAGA extreme right. But realistically, most of his policies are like 90s Democrat. Build a wall, bring jobs back. I mean, very basic stuff is what Trump promotes.
Those are Bill Clinton policies. Most people don't realize that.
Absolutely. I mean, the 94 crime bill was a wave from the Democrat community. That was actually pushed by Jesse Jackson, called for by the inner cities because of the crack epidemic. People forget that. You know, and like it's amazing how short the political memory is, and how fast those.
This is the funny part, right? So Biden puts away all these people in the mainly people of color in the inner city that got caught up in the 94 crime bill and the 3 strikes law and all of that. Right. So it takes away all their abilities to vote. Now they can't vote. They can't choose a president, right? So then here comes this guy, Donald Trump, and gives them all the right to vote back. He restores their voting rights. And they went and voted for the guy who put him in prison. It made no sense.
I think, like I said, I think there have been historical trends that have held true simply because this is how it's always been. I believe those trends are coming to an end. And you know what? I don't know if it's even a permanent thing. This might be a one-time thing. But I honestly believe that the Biden administration in this particular this ideology has pushed too far. I think they've gone too far, and I think you're going to see a massive correction.
Yeah.
About reasonable people. I mean, like,
sure hope so.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, go out and talk to people, man. And like I said, I know a lot of people that will freely say, I do not like Donald Trump, but he was right about this. Or, I think he'd be better for the country than this guy. There's going to be a lot of people that will hold their nose and pull that lever. And that's fine. I don't care. We can't lose. No. What I mean is we can't afford to lose. We can't afford to lose. Can you imagine if you reward this ideology, and said all of these crazy things are okay, and here's another 4 years of madness.
No,
I believe that you will have crossed the point of no return. There's no coming back.
I give up at that point. I understand at that point my vote doesn't count. I understand that the law enforcement has been taken over. They are essentially the same as the man. What did Hitler have? The
brown shirts.
The brown shirts.
I think you mean like essentially nothing the DOJ.
Nothing means anything at that point. We know we no longer have a system that plays by the rules anymore. The people that are in power stole that power, and the people that are subverting their authority are going to be seen as deplorable. They're saying it left and right. MAGA cult, deplorables. We need re-education. All of these things they're saying. They're not saying them for no reason. They're building up to something, and
what the heck is that?
This is the new communications director for the White House.
God. This guy is ridiculous.
No, you're kidding.
No,
I'm not kidding.
Real. It's real.
This is Tyler Cherry. He is now the White House Associate Communications Director. This is not a joke. If you actually look at this guy's history, it is depraved. And
well, who was the guy that was stealing clothes?
Yeah, but see, here's the thing, right? Here's what I
remember this clown. Like,
yeah. Here's what I think happened, guys. I think that you know how superheroes get their powers from like radiation or whatever. I think there was some radiation that got loose, and all these people have gotten these weird gay superpowers, and one steals luggage, the other one looks like this guy. It's just one.
Well, I mean,
Oh my God.
I have plenty of gay friends that have never stolen someone's suitcase. I mean, like with that particular situation is just bizarre. You couldn't write this into a sitcom.
No.
You couldn't write this into like it would be like The Naked Gun or something. It'd have to be some slapstick.
It really
absurdity.
be true.
But I mean,
Really be true.
and then have you noticed that Buttigieg has not been on the news at all lately?
No.
Like they've
ever since he said
kind of
highways
shelved
were-
that dude.
He said highways were gay. He said no. What did he say? He said highways were racist. That's what he said. The inner city highways are racist, and that was about the last time I heard anything from Buttigieg. Like, how can you tell me traffic is racist?
Yeah, but see, I have gay friends and gay clients and gay associates that their worldview does not align with that stuff.
It's not monolithic. It's not monolithic.
Like everything is not about that. You know, the most normal people still have normal things to think about. You know, bills or goals or tasks or whatever. Like I don't know anybody who's in the real world. I personally don't know anybody in the real world whose identity is that dominated by any one thing. I mean, I don't know if these messages are being amplified by a very small group.
Sure, they are.
Or if this is like a real conversation. But I mean, I'm in charity organizations for cancer research. These are nonpartisan things. I interact with people from all across the political spectrum. I have never met anybody in my real life at a real dinner table who are even hyper liberal partisan people. I don't know anybody who thinks in these terms. I really don't.
They have to find them, and what they do is they zoom the camera in on them. So you think that we're painting people with a broad brush. Now, if we make jokes on here and say things like that, that's one thing. But everyone knows that that's really not the case. As far as
I have a sense of humor. I believe in comedy, and I don't think that there should be anything that is off limits. I'm all for people
exactly.
Like to me.
There's
like,
one rule.
Yeah.
Is it funny? If it's funny, say that. If it's not, don't say.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like gay people all don't have the same opinion. They don't all have the same politics. But to say, like, when you get to like the trans community, is kind of when things kind of get a little different, because you have to be able to differentiate between those people who really believe they are the sex to which they aren't. That's mental illness. That's different. When you have 2% of the population or less that are responsible for a big part of all the mass shootings that have taken place in the last 7 years, by a lot, by like a landslide.
Yeah, first of all, I reject any kind of idea that I must be forced to participate in anybody's self-ideation. You know, I mean, if you told me you were Batman, okay, you go be Batman. But the moment that you ask me to participate, yeah. But the moment that someone asks me to participate into this, no, like no, and they're not even asking; they're demanding it. And then, of course, you get into the idea of, like, women, biological men serving in women's prisons. You get into biological men competing in women's sports. Like, this is insanity. It is the antithesis of actual just fact and truth. My 5-year-old can tell you the difference. Okay, this isn't a complex thing. I do believe. I used to not believe this. I used to think it was too comic book, but I now do believe there is a battle of good and evil, truth and untruth. Yes. I don't. I'm not going to go down the road of religious connotation or some of this kind of thing. Yeah, people will come to this conclusion through their own channels, but there is no sane or good person who can deny the madness of that when you're denying biological truth. If an adult wants to say that they're gay, I don't really give a shit. I don't think anybody does. But if you're telling me when you can look somebody in a congressional hearing in the face and say that a biological man can get pregnant, this is not up for debate. A man can get pregnant. there have been many people to testify to this. That is insane. That is insane. Like, I'm sorry.
man.
Like, I don't know where you're going with that, but that's not true.
Well, what they're doing is it's completely part of destroying what reality is and being able to implement a new reality. So what they want to do is, they want to confuse as many people as they can, and especially at a young age. That's why they target children, is because they're the most impressionable. And if you get to them early enough, the effects that you have on them are irreversible. That's one of the main components that they want, is not only will they become a lifelong customer, but they will not be able to repopulate this earth. They want to end your bloodline. That's why they give these little children chemical castration, basically. With this gender affirming care, a lot of this will chemically castrate them. Or, like Washington State and Senate Bill 5599, they can legally basically take your child from the age of 12 and have them get free, or at least taxpayer funded, gender surgery and hormone blockers. And I mean, there's so many things that's dark and disgusting about this.
No, it's madness, and you're 100% right. What you said, you hit the nail on the head. If you can get people to doubt and dismiss simple biological truth, if you can get someone to dismiss that, well, then you can get someone to dismiss anything. At that point, words have no meaning. Nothing has any meaning. It's all, it's all relative. And at that point, you have a
moral relativism.
Well,
I want to make
facts are relative.
Yes.
Now you can manipulate that into anything you want.
Well, I want to make a point with that as well, to kind of tack onto it, is that they can also find their loyal subjects in how they repeat the narrative, regardless of whether or not it's true. So you find people like Harry Sisson, who will just repeat these blatant lies, these falsehoods, and that's a way of virtue signaling their loyalty to the party or to the regime, to the narrative, by pushing it forward, and even counteracting themselves a couple minutes later. They could say two things that are completely contrary to each other and believe that they are true.
I've seen this.
Even though,
I've seen it.
yes, but that's it, all it is pledging loyalty to the party, and they can say, "Hey, look at me! I can say all of these things, so you should give me money, or let me survive when you guys have this communist takeover." It's weakness.
Yeah, but we already know what happens with that.
What do you think the end goal is?
I think the end goal is replacement. I think that our southern border is being flooded with the new voter and the new base. Meanwhile, they're pushing an agenda of hell with YouTube. What's going to happen is the people that took the vaccine, we know they're having a serious amount of side effects from it. My wife is deaf, and we're still waiting on results from tests that we're taking to see if the tumors that grew as a result of her vaccine are cancerous right now as we speak. So I know how bad this stuff is. So when you get all these guys getting boosted and reboosted, and yet you have all these people pouring in over the southern border, and they don't have to get vaccinated, and they're pushing this agenda, this trans and gay agenda at elementary school, hell, as low as kindergarten. We caught them across the nation doing it. It ends in one way, is death. Meanwhile, the people you're rushing across the border to replace us don't think that way, and they won't question your the way you govern, the way that your socialism, your Marxism, your communism, because it's still better than where they came from.
I heard a terrifying proposal, and that is, if they start offering 16 million military age men citizenship in exchange for service, these are people that have no loyalty to the country, no connection to the country, no loyalty to the Constitution. And I believe that right now, if an order was given to the U.S. military, especially like in the combat arms, your infantry, your special operations, I do not think that you would see the military act on U.S. citizens. If the military is filled with, non-citizens, people who have come from all over the world that do not, I have a hard time believing that you're going to order a platoon of Marines to go back to their hometown in siege their old high school. I don't think that's going to happen, right? But if you have a battalion of guys from Venezuela, or from China,
it gets worse than that. What did they do in the offset? My buddy Ivan Raiklen walked away from the DEI that was going on in the military, and then 87,000 people also behind him left, all due to those jabs. They said, we're not doing it, and instead they got discharged. And now all of a sudden the Army wants, Navy, military, whatever as a whole, wants these people back. What they did was they got rid of all of the people who would not just blindly trust them and listen to what they said. So all you got left are a lot of the people that would just do what they're told. Not all of them, but a big portion of them. Now they're the types that get that shot, do that thing. Yes, sir. I'm not questioning you about anything. I'm just going to do what you say and listen.
If you start allowing people that have no connection to the community, no connection to the country, they have no historical background here. Their grandparents didn't fight for this country. Their parents didn't fight for this country. You're completely severed from any type of roots here. And if that's who you start replacing the military and the police with, well, that's a bad situation. But they're already slow. I mean, they're already slowly. Again, is California? I believe we talked about it earlier.
Yep.
I think you can become a police officer as a non-citizen.
Now,
so I would like to bring up incentives as well, because I know I have a family of veterans. I got a bunch of veteran friends, right? I never served in the military, but they served to protect this land, right? Their incentive was to protect and serve. It was to go fight for our country. The incentives for these illegals is not going to be to protect the country at all. It is going to be to earn citizenship, right? Because they want to stay in this country. So and since they have no understanding of the Constitution in any way, they don't embody the values. People really underestimate the way that Americans have it good, with the understanding of natural rights, right? God-given rights that each individual has. Now we have that understanding, and a lot of people project that understanding onto the people across the world. Well, these people coming from Venezuela, these migrants coming, they don't have that same understanding. They see people as people or as enemies, as they don't see them the same way with natural. Like, they don't look at us and see that person has a spark of divinity and is worthy of human rights. Their incentives will be corrupted in the way that they have to show loyalty to whatever order they're given. And it doesn't matter who it's taken out upon, because they can swear on and pledge that they're going to abide by the Constitution. But again, they don't understand it. They don't embody those values. So they will be really, it will be really easy to corrupt their tactics and to be taken and used against the American people. That's the really sad part.
Yeah.
The American perspective is unique. I mean, across the world. I mean, Americans historically have always loved an underdog. You could be born in a slum and grow up to be a billionaire. Like those stories, however rare, are still possible.
Elon Musk. Elon Musk. He came here with $2,000. That's it, $2,000. Look at him now.
Well, but I'm saying America at some point, the United States was seen as, a meritocracy. It was seen as a place where, like you said, equal under the law. So whether you're a billionaire or a bum, ideally the law applies to you equally. That is unique. There are a lot of places in the world where that is not true at all. Now in practice, we can all point at flaws in our legal system, the criminal justice system. We can all point at that, but at least the founding principles are that you have equal protection under law. That's what makes this republic so great. And you're right. Unless you've grown up to embody that, or you have come to organically appreciate what that means compared to wherever you may have come from, then yeah, it's like Reagan said, you're always one generation away. You're always one generation away from having completely forgotten that lineage, and I believe that to be true.
Absolutely, I do as well. And if you take a look at Venezuela, just 5-6 years ago. Top 10 economy in the world, right? It didn't take very long for them to degrade into what you see them now. What you see right now happened very fast. It happened extremely fast.
Very wealthy company to using their currency as toilet paper in, probably when someone started as a freshman before they left high school. That's
exactly.
That's
as a result of exactly what we're doing, stagflation, printing money, and not growing our industry. We're spending money left and right. We are the welfare for the world. And I believe in what Trump said, and I believe this is one of the reasons why he's attacked so much by globalists. Is he asked the question, why is NATO still relevant? And the answer to the question is no, it's not.
Well, I think whenever Russia attempted to join NATO, I think I'm no Putin sympathizer. I'm no fan of Russia. Russia competes with
too late. You already are. They already labeled you that way. You didn't say go Ukraine. Therefore.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. Russians compete with American interests, and I don't cry, about Russian casualties. But the level of dishonesty there, right? I think that's where a lot of people are. Nobody is pro-Putin or pro-Russia. They're very anti-dishonesty. This is very reminiscent, and it's funny how short people's political memory is. Because
very short.
Well, if you read Colin Powell's, memoirs, his biggest regret in his life was that speech before the UN, whenever he got up and sold them on, weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
And that was when people say all politicians and all parties and stuff are corrupt, I am not too, ignorant of the fact that I remember whenever there was a Republican president that was selling a war on false pretense. And Bush? I rejected it then.
Bush.
Yeah, Bush. Yeah.
We are not fans of Bush. You can talk all the smack you want about that guy.
Well, I'm saying, but Bush was the definition of the deep state. Bush was the definition of a product of the intelligence. Yeah,
his dad created it.
That is the deep state, and you saw it. The deep. Guess what they did? They rewrote laws. They stood up the Patriot Act. They again, 1 million or more people died because of that.
His family also funded Hitler. His family was also targeted by the United States for doing so. Brown Brothers Harriman Bank, Hamburg American Shipping Lines. These were Prescott Bush's companies. People don't realize that during that time when he was in the Texas Air National Guard, that his father was sending money to Hitler. And they actually froze all of the Bush family assets as a result of this, and they didn't get them back for some time. But
think about this, and
go ahead.
Think about this, guys. The Patriot Act was pre-written before 9/11. So take from that what you will.
A year before, all 525 pages of it. It was written. It came out of a think tank that Bush created called the Project for the New American Century. That was Dick Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, and I forget the other people's names that were in that think tank.
All the other deep state.
But it basically said that we would not be able to pass the Patriot Act unless there was another Pearl Harbor type event to take place, or the people would not accept it. They passed it in the middle of the night after 9/11, and not one of those senators read it. They just signed it.
Yeah, and no president since has rescinded it or limited it. If anything, they've expanded it, right? So, the government never gives back power. The reason why I even brought up Bush and the invasion of Iraq and so on and so forth is because whenever I reject the funding for Ukraine, whenever I reject the premise of this war, and I call out the dishonesty and the dishonest rhetoric surrounding this thing, that's not because I'm pro-Russia or anti-Biden. I rejected it in 2001, too, in 2002 and 2003. I remember whenever it was, I was a Republican back then. Bullshit is bullshit. Do you remember Freedom Fries?
Yeah, I remember Freedom Fries. Yeah.
Freedom Fries. I have seen the absurdity of rhetoric on both sides, and I think I'm just, I'm just done with it. Anyways, guys, hey, I am super grateful for y'all having me on. This has been a blast, and I will absolutely, after we get off in the next couple of days, call me and let's figure out how to keep doing something, whether it's coming on a regular spot or supporting whatever. But I'm in, guys.
Nice, beautiful. So I'd like to hear.
So yeah,
awesome.
we definitely will do that. Thank you so much, Mike, for taking the time to come on, brother. I love the conversation. Yeah,
Mike,
I appreciate it, man. Really do.
Where can people find you, Mike? What's your website? What do you want to promote? Let them hear it.
SOLGW.com is our company website. My personal Twitter and Instagram is Mike Mihalski, Mihalski. And of course, our company pages are SOLGW or Sons Liberty GW. We are an American rifle company. We're an unapologetic American rifle company, and we support the good citizens of this country. And may it long live the Republic.
Well, we appreciate
Beautiful.
you having you on, and obviously the people do too, because we have over 3,000 people right now on just 3 of the platforms watching this, and I don't know how much are on the other ones, but that's a pretty damn good show, brother.
Hey, I'm grateful for you guys, and let's do it again soon.
Sounds like a
God
plan.
bless,
Guys,
brother.
as usual, the silent majority, you need to stop being silent and stand your ground. We'll see you next time on the Patriots Prayer Podcast. Stick around, Mike. We'll talk right after this.
My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flag.